Andy, you're a sneaky bastard. Uh, I'll just say that. Um, so everyone, we talked on Friday about being my 50th birthday, and Andy was like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "Well, I just want to just hang out, relax, do this." Little did Andy lead on even, much less my wife. And they had coordinated a surprise virtual birthday party for me at like later in the evening. We're bringing together friends from ROTC, friends from Maryland, friends from Florida, Germany. I mean, it was all together, and it was just a fun hour of just kind of cracking up and birthday wishes and some stupid Dave stories and such. But Andy, well done. I That made me feel it was a fun night. I was very honored to do it. It was cool.
It was fun. You're all credit to your wife. I just kept it secret from you, but she did all the thinking and plotting and scheming, and I thought she did a great job. It was fun to meet some of your friends over the years and hear some pretty fun Dave stories, to be honest with you. Also appreciate the completely unfiltered in front of your 8-year-old daughter, Dave Pounder. It's I'm still amazed by no holds barred. It just comes out. I loved it. It was hilarious. So you've got a great family. Got obviously a lot of people all over the country and the world that love you. So, again, happy belated birthday, Dave. It was a great way to celebrate a man who deserves to be celebrated.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, and I am reminded like of what you did for your beautiful wife. For her 50th, you did a surprise party. We came out for that, or a lot of the friends there. That was fun to see all of those guys from back in the day, and of course, see. So, hey everybody, if you're out there and listening to Pod, surprise parties are actually fun. You can do
Yeah,
it. So
yeah, that's
whether
right.
it's virtual or in person, it works. And so good time all around. I had a great birthday, Andy. And then we went into the weekend, a lot of football. So let's start there, Andy. I'm sorry, my friend. How are you feeling?
Dave, it's funny. I have a lot of friends that have known me as a Lions fan for decades and decades, and as the game wrapped up, like so many people reached out to be like, "Hey, are you okay? How you doing?" And I was like, "Guys, like, I listen. I love the Detroit Lions. I love football, but the beauty of it is only one team gets to be champion. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And so, like, that's the beauty of the game, and the beauty of it, as opposed to other sports we said this before, it's one game. You got to go out there and give it your all for 60 minutes of game time. Winner, loser, that's the way it goes. Detroit came out, just didn't get it done. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs was amazing,
Yeah, he was
but
awesome.
he's awesome, man. But the rest, it just they just weren't hitting. I mean, Jared Goff was off. The team wasn't playing really well. The defense was not the defense that was out there, 2 weeks prior, beating up the Vikings. It just were flat, and Washington came out aggressively. Jaden Daniels was phenomenal, and everything broke Washington's way. I mean,
Yep.
everything went their way, and that's the game. And congratulations to Washington. While I've mocked Washington over the years, like I'm genuinely happy to see the ghost of Dan Snyder, gone, and just this team doing remarkably well. Like I'm genuinely happy for them. It's the fun of the game. It's the beauty of the game. Detroit gave us a great season, a great run. An emotional Dan Campbell, after the game. Like you love to see it. That's the beauty of sports, right? You go out there, as Vince Lombardi said, you leave it all on the field, and the best team walks away. And I absolutely love it. So I'm excited. We got some great football this weekend and great football coming up.
Yeah, so I mean, like I texted you, Washington had to do everything right,
Yeah,
and Detroit had to do everything wrong. I know what the final score said, but there were two or three key moments in that game where Detroit was ready to get back into it and
yeah,
maybe take the lead and go ahead, and a play went the wrong way.
yep.
A trick play through goes for an interception. A fourth down, they had 12 men on the field. There's just everything that went five turnovers to none. You can't win like that. And the Ravens, what we saw yesterday afternoon, early evening, the Ravens three turnovers and a drop 2-point conversion
Yeah.
play.
Poor Mark Andrews, man. That guy is not going to sleep for a long time.
Yeah, I mean you can't. Buffalo had none. Now I thought the Ravens were the better team, And as you mentioned about Detroit, look, Detroit, like they had no problem moving the ball. Jameer Gibbs was going for 10 yards a carry, it seemed like every time he touched the ball. It just, and look, credit to Jaden Daniels, no mistakes, didn't do like earlier in the season he was running recklessly, didn't do that. He ran Andy, they are something like 89% on fourth down conversions. It's a near impo I mean, it's unbelievable. So a lot of credit to them. I do want to say this one thing too is for you mentioned Daniel Snyder
Yeah,
and we talked about your owner when the owners get it the fuck out of the way and let the business people run the business, you can see what kind of happens here. Like for all those owners, Jerry Jones, for example, like who want to be in the midst of everything and you're not like you may be a great businessman because you made a great investment somewhere, but get the fuck out of the way and let your people coach, let your people develop players, do what you can do to support them with your money and your
yeah,
ownership, but get the fuck out of the way.
yeah.
So a little crazy there. So Andy, overall though, like the Eagles won. It was one I love seeing the snow games, so that was a lot of
That's
fun.
fun. Yeah, that's fun.
But the Chiefs won again. There's a lot of a lot of memes about the refs and Patrick Mahomes. I thought there was some very questionable uh roughing the passer calls.
Yeah.
But that aside, the Chiefs were better than the Texans. And then the other game, the Eagles, wow, what I mean, like Saquon Barkley, I don't know what else we can say about this guy, but they won again and I think it's gonna be an exciting next weekend of games, Andy.
It is. I mean, look, everybody's beating up the Chiefs. America's sick of the Chiefs like they're sick of the Patriots, right? And I don't like the way Mahomes flops, and Josh Allen does this too, right? It's like just play the game right. Don't
Yeah.
don't don't do that. It's disrespectful to the defense. It's taking advantage of the way they try and protect the quarterback. Like that's crappy, and he does it a lot, and that I get. But like, let's not take away from the fact that Patrick Mahomes is unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
he completes passes, he makes plays, and he makes it look like it's something that anybody could do. Nobody can do it. Like nobody can do it. He is truly an incredible quarterback, maybe the best to play the game. The Chiefs are going back to their seventh consecutive AFC championship. Like that's phenomenal, right? I mean, that is phenomenal. And to see this on the back of the Patriots dynasty, like immediately a team come in and do this, it is incredible. So I mean, as sick of the Chiefs as America is, like they are a great football franchise. And Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce had a great game. Look, Kelce, love him or hate him, he's beating or right behind Jerry Rice in the many records. Jerry Rice is amazing, right? He was an amazing player for a long time with the Niners. Like they're a great team. So I mean, we're in store for two good championship games, an NFC East battle as Washington comes to play Philly in Philly. It's going to be a good game, Dave. I don't think anybody's blowing anybody out in that game, and it could go either way. And Chiefs Bills, look, the Chiefs are the kryptonite to Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. Bills beat them earlier in the year. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But it's going to be a good weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of the championships here.
Yeah, so I think a couple points that I'm looking forward to is one, this is a very rare have the Eagles and the formerly Redskins Commanders ever met in the playoffs. I think it's only one time in their history, so that's exciting. I think the we'll talk about predictions later in the week. That's one piece of it. The other piece is like here it is again for the Kansas City Chiefs all lined up. I think the one team that really could take them out lost yesterday, the Ravens. And I thought the Lions were going to match firepower for firepower with them. They're no longer in the playoffs. So this is going to be setting up well for the Chiefs. But yes, kryptonite for Josh Allen. Let's see what happens as we go forward on this one. Any last comments on the NFL weekend, Andy?
Best sport in the world, best playoffs in the world. God bless football.
And in the snow just makes it all the
Oh
more.
man, yeah,
Important.
so good.
I just love seeing the snow out there. So I know you're digging out of snow, Andy, or a little bit of ice, and
Yeah.
well, it's just cold here. We don't get the benefit of the snow. But the inauguration is being impacted today, Andy. I think they're moving that inside, so we don't get to see the biggest crowd in the history of the world attend the inauguration, Andy. But President, well, Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Yeah.
Um, so that'll happen today. Any thoughts as we lead into the inauguration, Andy?
I mean, I saw a funny joke, Dave. People were talking about with the inauguration moving indoors, and somebody had posted, at least Trump supporters already know how to get inside, and I thought that was I thought that was pretty clever. To make fun a little bit of what's happened in the past. But look, we've been getting ready for this for a long time. The Trump sort of ascendancy to the presidency again almost seemed like an inevitable event. Going back to the assassination attempts and just sort of Teflon Trump, rising back. So it's going to be interesting to happen. What sort of struck me this morning, above all else, Joe Biden just announced a few preemptive pardons, right, for Anthony Fauci, for Liz Cheney, for General Milley. I think it was. I think that's the other one was. But like it was literally just announced, Dave, and like that's sort of a great example of the times we're in, right? The I'm so not happy with the idea of preemptive pardons. And that's the political environment we live in today, right? Where an outgoing president is pardoning people for things they haven't been charged with. Like that's America 2025, and that's a bad place to be. So that's sort of one thing that popped out of me this morning, just as, I was sort of processing where we are. That being said, look, a peaceful transition of authority in this country, new Congress, new president, let's see what happens. It's going to be a very busy week. We're going to see a lot of activity from Donald Trump. He's going to execute on some of his campaign promises. He's going to ignore. He's already been crawling back, many of them. That's what happens. And like, let's move forward. Let's see what happens and let's move forward. But I'll tell you, it is freezing here in the DC metro area. I mean, it is unbelievably cold. So I mean, it's a good thing that thing's inside.
Yeah, I mean, so now the rubber hits the road, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I think this is where we've been talking about this. We've been hearing about the executive orders that are going to be ushered in almost immediately after the inauguration. There's going to be a lot of things that take place. And look, this is the reality for the next 4 years. We're going to just hear about, what's being posted on Truth Social, what Elon Musk is going to be saying or not saying, and how these things play out. Do you have any? I mean, what's your outlook for the next 4 years? I mean, do you think, I mean, look, because there's always that balance of, the president's going to radically overhaul the US government. He's going to radically target this deep state that is embedded in there. Yeah, you know how you target the deep state, Andy? You fucking set term limits. I mean, because then you
yeah.
don't want somebody to do that. But we won't see that happen. That's real change that comes in. So I mean, do you have any? With that, though, all those executive orders he can sign, and there's still a lot of things that he can't do
That's
because
right.
he's going to need congressional support. He's going to need congressional approval to do some of that. And then there's always the Supreme Court. That's a beautiful thing about our system. There's checks and balances all over the place. So there's no absolute power, despite what some people may think or want to believe.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on an outlook for the next 4 years, Andy?
I think I can't go as far as 4 years, and I'll say over the next two, right, until the next round of House elections. I think things will change most likely then. But over the next two, I think you're going to see a challenging time, right? It's one thing to campaign and say whatever the hell you want and get support, but now like the rubber meets the road, and you have to actually govern. And
Yep.
governing is hard, right? It is hard and it is serious business. And Donald Trump and his administration have to deal with that reality. And so, like, they have an aggressive series of things they want to do. They've got a razor thin margin in Congress, and they've got a party that's divided on a lot of issues. So he's going to have to manage that, and that's going to be a challenge, and it's going to lead to him doing some things that he maybe doesn't really want to do, and not doing some things maybe he does want to do. You're going to see challenges in courts to some of the things that President Trump is going to try and do. You're going to see Congress slow some things down, and you're going to have to see Donald Trump actually figure out, like, how do I govern? What are my priorities? What are we going to do? So it's going to be an aggressive start, no doubt. He's going to continue to, like, create chaos, right, as he goes and makes statements and posts things and attacks his enemies. It's going to be a lot of activity, but the actual execution and governance is going to take some time, and realistic, expectations have to be set. And we're going to see what he does. And it's going to be an interesting few years to watch the Republican Party, duke things out and the House and the Democrats object to some of the actions of the Republican Party. It's going to be American democracy. There's going to be some gridlock to it, even with a Republican majority. And Dave, I'm all for the gridlock. Like I don't need any of these parties, doing extreme measures and taking extreme action and trying to screw this country over. All hail the opposition, whatever party that is. And I'm looking forward to some gridlock and frustration for the incoming president because, most of America doesn't want some of the radical ideas that he's promoting, just like they don't want most of the ideas that any incoming administration wants, right? They're always small margins of victory and not mandates, despite what these, egotistical leaders think and want.
Yeah, which I think is really the shame, right, Andy, about our like we can't get things done because of, you know, the absolute swings in the way things happen. And I think that leads into a little bit of our third topic here. Where I want to talk a little about, and I'm going to reset the clock, but go into TikTok, Andy.
Yeah,
Like this is a, I don't think, are you on TikTok at all? Were
I
you
am
on?
not. I am not
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I think it's too old for us, but again, started out as one way, as a dancing or type of app, and it's come become a lot of different things, and a lot of young people today are being are very heavily invested in that. In fact, my wife was telling us a story. She was taking my daughter and her friends home from somewhere late on Saturday night, and one of the girls noticed that the app stopped working,
Yeah.
and she's like, what's going on? Don't close out, don't log out of your app, don't log, and then everybody in rapid succession, it's not working for me either, this is the worst thing ever in the history of the world. And yes, that's the beautiful thing about teenage girls or teenagers in general. But and now TikTok is coming back online with the hopes that President Trump will reevaluate this over 90 days. And let's just be real, Andy, he's going to reinstate TikTok. Why? Because he has this belief that that won him the young person vote, when the reality is he actually lost the young person vote, I think is the was some of the statistics. But he did have a good following on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then there's also the financial benefits that he received from TikTok, and he's friendly with some of the leaders of that company, and some of the work that's been done. He's been received campaign contributions on that side, much like everybody else did. It's not just all for Trump, but it changes. But let's not forget about one thing. While Trump is coming in looking like the savior today, he was the one who put this ball in motion,
Yeah.
you several years ago. So let's not pretend like um, he can wash his hands of it and be the savior here.
Yeah.
But it is amazing that, our government came together for something like TikTok, a social media app, where there's a connection to China. And I'm not going to dispute any of that work. But if you look at the landscape in general, China has about 50% of all of our data already. Just listen to Christopher Wray for a minute or two. And then, but yet we won't solve other larger issues in our country. So we're willing to go to bat over this, and both have bipartisan support on this, and both parties agreed that we should do this, but yet we can't do other things like fix the housing markets, fix, you know, inflation, or fix some of these other challenges that we have, insurance companies, and all this work here.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to get fucked by those companies because Congress won't act. So I went on a little bit of a rant there, Andy, a bit of a tirade. But I mean, I
Sure.
think it's a little ridiculous that we're getting our panties in a wad over freaking TikTok, but we won't, you know, pardon the expression there, Andy, but that's what came to mind. So
Yeah, no, it's fair, Dave. I mean, I wrote about this yesterday. I was thinking about it. I didn't really want to, and then I ended up doing exactly that. And it's 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 absolute buffoonery, and it makes us look like absolute idiots. Like this whole thing, Dave. This whole thing started in 2020, right? If you recall, Trump had one of his first election rallies planned, and the numbers were really high, and then it fell short. Like the numbers fell short, and he was pissed. And a bunch of TikTokers and K-pop fans claimed to have like inflated the registration numbers just to cause embarrassment. A month later, Mike Pompeo was like, "Hey, we're looking to ban TikTok," and Trump was all for it. And that, like, whether those two events are exactly tied together or not, I don't know, but it certainly seemed interesting timing wise. And that started a 4.5 year series of conversations, Dave, endless conversation in Congress, in the media, for all of us about TikTok and the threat to TikTok. One of my state senators, Mark Warner, former Intelligence Committee chair, now vice chair, like has kept on saying it's a national security threat. But nobody has been able to demonstrate what the national security threat is. Like nobody's been able to articulate that in any meaningful way besides the fact that it's tied back to China, like so many things are, right? So the threat is unclear if even really there. But the former president, now the incoming president, supported aggressively. Bipartisan support in Congress. I mean, overwhelming majority of the folks voted for it. Passed the law. Supreme Court upheld the law, right? Everybody's in agreement. And then last minute, Joe Biden, who supported the ban, I'm not going to enforce it. And Donald Trump says, I'm going to take it back. And so TikTok celebrates Donald Trump. Thank you, Donald Trump, for saving TikTok. It's off for a few hours. It's back on already. And it's like absolute buffoonery. What the hell are we doing? You know what I mean? And why is TikTok front and center? Like you said, Dave, there's all these real issues. And we're talking about a social media app so people can watch their favorite, recipe being made in a comical manner. And people are freaking out. Look, you don't want to use TikTok? Don't use TikTok. I don't use TikTok. I don't like the way China has access to it. Personal decision, yes. National security risk, no. No. Like it shouldn't be on government devices. Okay. Does this be on corporate devices? You can ban it. None, but this is just absolute nonsense. We look like idiots, right? And what's really funny is the flip-flops are so well documented. And like I'll share one in the image with this podcast, like of folks that have been adamant about it needing to be banned, and now are like, "Thank you, Donald Trump, for saving TikTok." It's like, what the hell is going on? It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is just it. Is like we've spent so much time and energy over this. And again, there's just so many other things that we should be working on a bipartisan level for that we can solve. We can solve this insurance issues. We can solve a lot of our housing crises where we don't allow, hedge funds to come in and own and rent control places. We can solve those problems. I won't say it's like easy, write it out, but in a lot of respects, it can be. And I think we have, but yet we've spent so much time on this. And yeah, it's comical. Like the President Trump is going to come and work with us, and we're going to say this. Like how fucking blatantly like over the top is some of this stuff. It just is ridiculous. All for party favors that at the end of the day are not going to amount to shit. And what do I mean, we're selling out our souls. I mean, it's a shame.
Well, a fun topic and way to enter the presidential inauguration in 2025, Dave.
Yeah, I know. There we go. So I have a feeling, Andy, this is going to give us a lot to talk about the inauguration today. Going to give us a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of things to go forward with for the next couple years, Andy. So look, I mean, hey, good for us on content, bad for us as citizens of the country, I think. So,
It is
all
what it
right.
is, Dave. We'll be here. We'll be here to talk about it, to share some perspective on it. I'm grateful for that. So it's going to be interesting times ahead.
Yeah. So, Andy, it would be remiss if I didn't say, this is Martin Luther King's birthday,
Yeah.
or we celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday holiday this day. There's been a lot of clips going around about some of the speeches that he's talked about. Ironically enough, about some of the things that we just covered in this last thing about really how the government can really attack these wars on poverty, these wars on of haves and have-nots and all. So there's a lot of opportunities, but this is not a new topic. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been around for decades, centuries. It's been around for some time now. But we do want to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr., just a great representative of speaking for the people. And so I did want to just call that out today as well
Yeah,
too.
no, dude, I appreciate that. And it's almost unfortunate that the inauguration occurs,
Yeah.
on his holiday because it really takes away from, this the celebration recognition that Dr. King, deserves. We sometimes forget how new, the civil rights movement is, right, and how recent equal rights really are, right, for Black Americans for sure, and that's what we're sort of recognizing largely with the holiday. But I mean, even going back to women's suffrage is just 100 years old. Like
Yep.
these are still amazingly new things, and we don't appreciate how long they didn't exist for, and how fragile rights are in this country and everywhere, and that we've got to like fiercely protect and defend equality in this country. And that's going to be a subject of debate, with President Trump coming into office. He's going to be attacking, and I'm not weighing in on it. I'm just saying, like, I haven't seen the actual language, but he's going to be attacking gender identification. He's going to be pushing back on a lot of things that have been happening over the last, 4, 8, 10 years in terms of rights and recognition. There's going to be a lot of discussion about these things, and America is going to debate these ideas. And again, you look to what Dr. King did, advocating for peaceful change, peaceful rights, equality, justice. And so as we recognize at inauguration today, like I hope everybody can pause, just appreciate all that he did. Right? Wasn't a perfect man, like no person is, but really was a tremendous voice and a great advocate for humanity, and critical to the evolution of this country past our greatest shame in codifying slavery, in the Constitution of the United States of America and that disgusting three-fifths compromise. Dr. King was a critical character in our American history. I hope we can recognize that today and not just get wrapped up around the ascendancy of Donald Trump.
Yeah, fair point. Way good way to end, Andy. Nice summary there for sure. So, okay, Andy, we hope you all stay warm out there for all our listeners who are going through the Arctic spell. And then we will catch up on Wednesday, Andy.